Alright, good morning people of YouTube. So this time we are back with a deck profile that I am extremely excited to give you all. This is going to be a bunny hybrid list for the new starter deck that we are getting, the double Typhoon deck, the Terriermon, the Rapidmon deck, whatever you want to call it. The bunnies provided a lot of support to a lot of existing decks, as well as being a deck of their own. This is an incredibly strong starter deck, and for those of you wanting to play in that green-only pre-release tournament, maybe this could be a jumping-off point for a deck that you would bring to something like that. Obviously, you can't play the white cards that are listed on this list here, like the Ukomon or the Louis, but that is something that you can work with going into one of these pre-release tournaments. So what makes this deck so special? Not only do we get this new Rapidmon card, this is just a fantastic card for armors, as well as just green in general, as well as just general yellow decks, like this card being able to reduce your opponent's DP, as well as the DP of their security Digimon, is absolutely fantastic. We get this new Mega Gargomon Ace, which is an incredible boss monster that a lot of decks find themselves playing. You could play this in Devas to go over a lot of your dudes. Just Mega Zoo, like, there's a lot of things that do want to play a card like this. Having that Blast evolve on your opponent's turn, and then being able to suspend up to 2 of their Tamers or Digimon, then 2 of their Tamers or Digimon can't unsuspend or Digivolve until the end of your opponent's next turn, which is a really fantastic effect. Not only that, but it has a when Digivolving and an end of attack effect that lets you unsuspend this Digimon. So it's a double swing on every turn, and whenever it Digivolves, you can unsuspend it, and then it will also have blocker. So this is fantastic. It's a really good boss monster in a lot of just generic decks. Anything green or black, like you can even play this in decks like Machinedramon, and it's just a really good card. And then, you know, of course we have the rookies. So this Lotmon is really good alliance support, but this Terriermon is really good support for just a wide variety of green decks. What this card allows you to do is during your main phase, you can play a green Tamer card or a level 3 Digimon with Lotmon in its name from your hand and have that play cost reduced by 2. So the Lotmon in this list will rarely come up. We do play the one-of so that we can kind of like get that cheeky alliance play live. Lotmon is also really good with double Typhoon, which is also just generically a fantastic card. But this Terriermon will allow us to play Tamers from our hand at a reduced cost. So if you play something like JP off of this, then JP is going to be a 1-cost Tamer, and then later on down the line, you can get a 1-cost hybrid off of this. That allows you to provide a lot of aggression, especially since you can also use Tamers like Mimi and Willis and Louis to get a lot of extra aggression with your eggs. So that way you're just promoting a lot of bodies. You're playing these JPs at just 1 memory a pop. Sometimes this BT8 Terriermon will get you that memory back. And then you can evolve these into hybrids, start swinging with those extra bodies. You have just a bunch of rookies, and you can just beat your opponent down, and if they try to swing over you, well, you have powerful Ace Digimon to kind of combat that. And just to round it off as icing on the cake, because it is green, you still get access to Quartzmon. So if you guys like this kind of content, make sure you guys like and subscribe, but we'll start going into the card-by-cards now, as well as, like, specifically what makes this version of this deck something that I am so excited to play. So, starting off with the eggs, we do play 4 copies of the BT11 Tanemon still, because whenever we play a Tamer, it allows us to draw a card. This is pretty non-committal draw power, because we're playing our Tamers for free, or just reduced cost a lot of the times. And then this Gummymon is going to round out our 5th egg. This is a new egg that is introduced in the starter deck. It is a little bit more commitment because it is a win attacking effect. However, this is still just generically really strong. If you have a green Tamer in play, you get to draw a card that's a really good effect. So for the Terriermons, obviously we are playing 4 copies of the starter deck Terriermon because he is just busted. Promoting this from your raising area in combination with effects like Uko and Louis, and just having a bunch of free memory gain at the start of your turn, being able to play more Tamers for even cheaper than that is really silly. You can also, like, do something like play a Mimi for just 2 and memory choke them. That's also really good. And not only that, but its inheritable effect is an effect that comes up a lot in this deck, which is while this Digimon is suspended, it gets plus 1000 DP on all turns. So whether you're swinging, this will trigger. If your opponent is swinging into you, you'll be 1000 stronger. It's a really good effect, and it makes it so that way your blast cards, like the Mega Kabuterimon Ace and the Mega Gargomon Ace, are even bigger and just generically more threatening. So this is just a fantastic card. We are playing 2 copies of the Floodgate Terriermon. This is going to be a really good card into the upcoming format. Memory gain is everywhere with the Numemon deck popping up. Purple is still gaining a bunch of memory. This card will force them to answer it, or this card being in play will force your opponent to answer it before they progress forward with any of their memory gain, which is really, really nice. And then we are rounding out the Terriermon count with the 3 copies of the the EX2 Terriermon. This is a card that people think is kind of one of the worst ones, and I would agree. It does have a really good inheritable effect to give yourself plus 2000, and plus 2000 on an inheritable is always good. I don't care what people say. But it's got a your turn, once per turn effect that if you play a green Tamer, you gain a memory. So if something happens, like if you start rookie rushing with all of your Tamers, if you can get this Terriermon and this Terriermon out, you can play a Tamer for free, which is really cool. Like, the memory gain from this will stack if you have multiple in play. It's generically just a good card, and we do need Terriermon names to go into our Rapidmons for cheaper. So, rounding out the non-Ukomon rookies, we are playing the single copy of the Lotmon that can give one of your dudes Alliance, which is just kind of nice. Giving Alliance to, like, one of these Rapidmons so that they can have extra security checks in combination with their Armor Purge makes them really sticky. This card with the Gargomon is also really good, being a jamming Alliance dude, and having extra security attack on cards like your Mega Gargomon is always fantastic. Especially since this card is really good in combination with Double Typhoon. I am almost never playing my Lotmon from my hand for 3 memory. I'm either evolving it in the back if I'm out of rookies, or I'm popping it down for free off of a late game Double Typhoon play to try to win the game. And it's really good for that. But rounding out the rookie package, I do play 4 Ukomon. In a deck that wants to be as aggressive as possible and abuse the raising area as much as possible, a 4 of this card seems mandatory. Like, it just gets you an extra hatch, it gets you an extra memory. In decks that play, you know, Louis, Willis, Mimi, this card is just bonkers. This card can give you the free memory that you need to spend with the Terriermon effect to get that Tamer out, which sets you up for your late game plays, which is overall just really good. So for the level 4s, with the new inclusion of the deck, we got this Rapidmon. Like I said, blocker, armor purge, and an effect to give your opponent security Digimon, as well as one of their Digimon minus 4000, is really strong. That is an all turns effect, so if somehow this card gets unsuspended, then you are in a situation where you can stack this effect, or if you have multiple, that's really good. If you can get your opponent's security Digimon low enough, then you can ensure that even cards like your Ukomon will survive security checks, which is really great. Not only that, but it has that all turns inheritable effect of while you're suspended, you get plus 1000. If you have this plus the Terriermon, and they swing at you, then you can do something really stupid, like give their Digimon minus 4000, and then blast evolve into something like the Mega Kabuterimon Ace, which will then trigger this card's when Digivolving effect to give itself plus 3000, and then with both inheritables, you'll be at plus 2000 more, so you'll be at 12,000, and they'll be at whatever their base DP is minus 4. So if they weren't if they weren't bigger than a 16,000, then they're just dying on that swing because you can redirect their attack off of this card. So that's really fantastic. This Rapidmon is just generically a great card. It pops bodies, it makes their security weaker, it's a blocker, it's just got a bunch of good keywords. Like, this is a really good 4-of for the deck, and I'm very happy to see a card like this be introduced in this set. We do play 2 of the old Rapidmon still. We kind of had to cut back on this card because we did have to make room for the hybrids, but this is still a good generic, just board kind of control card. This card stacks with the newer Rapidmon really well. It has Armor Purge. It doesn't have Blocker, but if your opponent has a situation where they have a bunch of bodies or a bunch of blockers that, you know, could block your attacks, you can kind of suspend them all and deal with a bunch of their smaller bodies, or give one of their bigger bodies minus 5k and then trigger a situation where you would be able to swing over it. So this is really good at answering the board, so I think you need to play at least 2. I just only have the room for 2 for some of the techs that I wanted to include. The last tech in the level 4 being this Gargomon. If you don't like this card, this is one of the cards that feels like it's the easiest to cut, but a really cheap Evo on a level 4, like 2 costs isn't bad. It's at least cheaper than the Rapidmons. And letting you give one of your Digimon jamming is really strong. And again, it does have that sick all turns inheritable of plus 1000 while you're suspended. So this is just generically a good card. I think a lot of decks will find value in a piece like this. It's just kind of strange, right? Because this deck has a lot of pieces that are just generically really good. And so it finds itself lacking the space to include multiple copies of all of them. And that's kind of this card's dilemma. So that's why I'm just playing it as a 1-of. If you like it, you can consider cutting something to go up. If you don't like it, you consider cutting this down to go up on the rapid count. I do like including at least 1-of in the list to have access to the Henry Warp. If you don't play this card, then you don't have access to that. But the warp off of Henry is not the best part about this card. So, moving right along, we do have our 6 hybrid pieces, the 4 Beetle and the 2 Metal Kabuteri. I like playing 4 of Beetle as opposed to more Metal Kabu, because if I'm shotgunning hybrids for game, Beetle can help me find more Beetles, which increases the odds of me slamming down multiple hybrids to close out the stock. So I really like this ratio. I felt like 6 hybrids was pretty cool. Metal Kabu, suspending a small body and then piercing over it with JP is always really good. This package is just phenomenal for a deck like this. So I am playing, for the top end, I'm playing a single copy of the new Rapidmon. And again, this is one of those tech cards that you could choose to either bump up or cut. It's an on-play and when digivolving, de-digivolve 1 on one of your opponent's dudes. Then, if you have a green Tamer, this card can't be deleted by your opponent's effects, and it can't be returned to the hand or deck until the end of your opponent's turn. So this card finds itself really good in the mid-game. If you are in a situation where you swung with a bunch of rookies and got your opponent really low in security, which is very easy to do in a deck like this, and then they answer your board, you have a rookie in the back and you only need a couple more swings. If you go to 4 memory off of like your Mimi and your Henry combo, you can hard play this for 7, put them to 1, and then have access, or put them to their obligatory 3 off of their memory Tamer, and then have access to a body that they can't interact with, as well as your rookie that's going to be safe in your raising area that you can promote and do other things with. Then your Mimi, since you have a level 5 in play, will be able to activate on your next turn, and you'll be all hunky-dory to make that final push for game. This is a really good card at just kind of being sticky and giving you the resources that you need to close it out, and for that I really like it as a 1-of inclusion. So, for the Blast cards, we play 4 copies of the Mega Gargomon Ace. We already went over how good this card is. Blocker, Reboot, once per turn unsuspend, and then suspend 2 Digimon or Tamers when digivolving, and then 2 things can't unsuspend or digivolve. That's fantastic. This is just a really good card. I think playing any less than 4 of this as a boss monster would be a mistake. And then I am playing just the 1 copy of the Mega Kabuterimon Ace to round out our Ace count. All of these can digivolve straight on top of the level 4 Rapidmons, which is kind of funny. But this card offers that redirect. It in combination with a new Rapidmon is just kind of like a pseudo panic button delete on one of your opponent's big dudes. Like if they're swinging like with an Anubis or something, then that's a really good way to just remove it. So I really like what this Mega Kabu Terriermon provides for the deck, but sadly there wasn't more room in the list so that we can include more copies of this. And then rounding out the Digimon, we play the One of Quartz because it's Quartzmon. Why wouldn't you play it? If you're playing this heavy into green, you should just at least include one. We are playing the 4 copies of Double Typhoon. This is a search card akin to like a memory boost, because you'll activate it, you'll pick up 3, you'll add a green Digimon and a green Tamer to your hand, rest go to bottom, and then it puts itself into play for a delay effect to let you slam down a Terriermon or a Lotmon later in the game, which is really, really cool, especially whenever you combine that with this Alliance Lotmon that we get. You could use this to slam down this Terriermon to play like a JP or something for cheaper, and just kind of push aggression. It's a really fantastic card, and it just really helps your overall consistency in your strategy. And then we have the Tamers, right? So we got the 4 copies of JP because it makes our hybrid super cheap, gives them piercing. This card is really good at shotgunning a bunch of bodies out in the late game if we need those extra bodies for that push. We have 2 copies of Mimi. Being a memory tamer and being able to spam out more bodies from our raising area is fantastic. We have 2 copies of Willis. This is a card that was generically thought as a bad card. Like, everybody thought this card was pretty bad until we got the opportunity to play it for just 1 memory off the new Terriermon. Not only that, but digivolving into a Rapidmon specifically hasn't been that relevant since there was only 1 good Rapidmon in the game, and now we have way more than that. Like, this Rapidmon is fantastic, this Rapidmon is fantastic, this card works with our Gargomon pieces, we now have a fantastic Mega Gargomon. So the 1 memory that you're spending to get this Willis out is netting you an extra hatch in your raising area, and the ability to reduce the cost of your Digivolutions later on in the game, which pays for itself. This is just a generically good card now, if you are playing this Terriermon. So, in addition to those, we have the Louis Owada, which will let us get an extra promote, and then whenever we do get a promote, we suspend this to gain a memory. The only reason we are not playing more copies of this card is because it's not a green tamer. I cannot gain value off of this in combination with my EX2 Terriermon. I can't play this off of my new starter deck Terriermon's effect. However, Louis, Ukomon, and this Terriermon was kind of like the backbone for where this deck started, because I thought this rookie was just so fantastic that I wanted to play more of it than just my once every other turn promote. I wanted to get as many promotes as possible so that I could put as many of these into play to get as many as Tamers in play as possible, so that I can shotgun a bunch of bodies in the late game, and this is the perfect way to do it. The Louis and Ukomon package is just absolutely stellar. And then the last card in the list is going to be this Henry. It's got a really good start of your main phase effect that if your opponent has a Digimon, you gain a memory. That's just really good. And then it's got a your turn main effect by placing this in a Gargomon and a Rapidmon from your trash as the bottom Digivolution cards of one of your Terriermons. That Digimon may Digivolve into a Mega Gargomon in its hand for a cost of 4, ignoring the requirements, and then it gets Rush. So this is a really cool late game play. Like, if you have nothing but a double Typhoon in play, you can pop off the double Typhoon, play a Terriermon, then use this effect and go straight into a Mega Gargo, give it Rush. Like, it's good. It's not going to happen as often as you want it to. This is mainly in here as another tamer that'll just give us more memory at the start of our turn, to give us more resources to aggress with. If you want to fully utilize this warp effect, you should increase the count of this Gargomon, because you do need that name for that tamer's effect. But that's an easy that's an easy edit you can make if you find a lot of value in that play. But that is the list. There are a lot of moving parts in this, a lot of things going on, and all of them work to whittle your opponent's security down and then just punch them in the face with a big bunny or a big beetle for game. So I hope you guys like this kind of content. If you do, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and we will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.